Good morning. Bonjour. Bojo. Ani. Tanse. Etlanita. Abawashtit. And for our Maori friends, Kia ora. Kia ora. My name is Don Iveson, and I'm the chair of the board, co-chair of the board of the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness, and I am thrilled to welcome you all to Jabuktuk or Halifax for the 2023 Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness Conference. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. Let me start by acknowledging that we are on the unceded ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people who have stewarded this land since time immemorial, and of course that continues, as we will see this morning, to this very day. Today is also Indigenous Veterans Day, and so our opening plenary today will acknowledge and remember Indigenous people who have served our country. Today's ceremony is being led by Garrett Glode, and I'd like to invite Garrett to the stage to start the proceedings. Welcome, Garrett, please.
Medalli otiok nin dalawisi Garrett Glode dalawi we go bigi wedebexi migamagi. So hello and welcome everyone. My name is Garrett Glode. I'm an employee, I think, with the Friendship Center. Kind of doing a mix of things in between, but I'm here to coordinate the opening ceremonies that you guys will all be seeing today. We have champion dancers who are part of this, as well as a contingent of veterans, as well as the military being a part of this as well. And we also have our very own Elder Debbie Eisen, who will be leading the procession. Just a few housekeeping rules. Just out to the doors here in the very front, there are the washrooms. Those who are kind of leaning in the center aisle here, can I just get you to push your chair in just a little bit? Thank you. What you're going to experience here today is something that is very special, and usually when we open up a gathering such as this, we like to incorporate our culture as much as we can. One thing that we need to take into account is that as Mi'kmaq people, we were the very first to be colonized in North America. So to have these traditions and these ways to be a part of our people once again is something that is very special. Here we have singers who come from across Mi'kmaq territory or Wabanaki territory. This here is Wabanaki Confederacy. We have Jacob Cope. Put your hand up. And then we have Liam Watson from Metabenagi, New Brunswick. We know it's a pretty early morning today. There's usually a few more singers than what we have, and they didn't set their alarms, I guess. But we will do what we do best, and I hope you guys enjoy the opening ceremonies. So thank you, everyone, for being a part of this. Thank you to our dancers. Every single one of these dancers are champion dancers within their category. So before we proceed on, we do like to honor our flags. And just a little teaching is that we didn't actually have flags prior to colonization. We actually had these eagle staffs that represented our nations, our communities, families, and so forth. So that's the reason why they led the procession in, is to honor those first flags that our people had utilized since time immemorial. So we're going to do 2 more songs, and then we're going to finish off with the Mi'kmaq honor song. So we're going to do a flag and then a victory song. I'm going to ask all of our flag carriers to come up and post your flags. Right up here on the stage. I also like to thank our head veteran, honorary captain of the Navy, Royal Canadian Navy, Elder Debbie Eisen. She has a service of 36 years. And she is the in-house elder for the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center. She also represents the Anishinaabe Nation and from Batchewana, Ontario. Our Eagle Staff Carrier, Cheyenne Delarone. Hi. And also give a round of applause for all of our flag carriers here today that took the day out. I also want to thank and acknowledge our dancers. To my left here, we have our men's traditional dancer, the talented Brady Gugu. Women's traditional dancer, Ashley Julian. Women's jingle dress, Alexa Metallic. Other women's jingle is Patience Syllaboy. And our women's fancy shawl dancer on to my left side is Shayla Glode. To my right here, we have Samantha Glode. And we have Jesse Benjamin. So before we open up this gathering, we'd like to open it up with an opening prayer. So I want to call on our elder, Patsy Paul Martin, originally from Eskasoni, but now resides in Millbrook First Nation. Patsy? And the one thing that we like to do is honor our language, and Patsy here is not only an educator but a linguist as well. So here's Patsy.
Wala si po, mega de wala yo pejirayo. Wala gelde ka bigun, ele waxi ka kika kike manacht ko imino. A igene muno mulgige nodi. Ke de walse de mai, en vlies rudiem dan gel ke meg. Kisuk, edamul nek piskwanda de temen. Agon masidinuda ye kiskuk. Igene muinen gelu kol also de maran. Wat also de maran na maumul gigena. Kisuk, also de meso sit gigmanach dana nagaluk sigabni. Daniel dat ki ma yap jo lejuti. Also de meso kisuk. Dan deze bugal ke kisuk dan deze nemarijik. Dan anawanda swalojik. Dan nok to galu budijik. Also de meso lejik rusqolti diok. Dan wunijan ultijik. Dan wilmi did lugaran. Dan medweg mujib joy. Aha gane yuan wiyumaga. Also de meso nutqolti diok dan gachika digik tugal buultijik. Mega milgigino di ligin munegamuk. Aha uni squal salsu diktuk. Also de meso nujigina modiok. Anujigina masulti diok. Pantar bugiguan negamuk. Aha bogon masudiginamuk. Also de meso mijuajik. Dan gewisnultijik. Dan geskajik. Dan gijidudik dan het leeultijik. Also de meso negamuk. Aha bogon masudiginamuk iso. Also de meso squijinu dan gedlam sasulti goe. Dan onleezultijik. Dan wigultijik. Dan wilwultijik. Dan geskajik. Ach dan awanda swalojik. Also de meso negamuk. Also de meso deze bugol kik ebijik. Jinemuk. Amijuaji, Shan Geskaji, Anebojik. Edewachiko Kignek Mugumoa, Wantarodi. Also the mess so days you got Mijuaji, ways you lamp Kamu. Edewachiko Kigami Majuminu, Tanu Majiras of Tijik. Kisu, Abawan Masudig in the Munegamu. Gedu also the mess so kick Smaganisk, Ebijigachi in the Muk. Dan Kisiabon Muxi, Ginu, Claman Wantarodi in the Wiggle to Disno. Also the mess so Negamukiso. Also the mess so well. Wisest dan alle gadajik dan sangwanik to clear utijik atan alai jirajik. Abijal negamutan det clear utijik with a geskajik del mili ala sistramu. Also meso meluich down gigan aluxigi dan melkigan adijik. Pantadu negamukupugi wall, siduan wall, akam lamunual. Kaman bubal kakelu kisklara hadida kisku, it'll mawida cladet, bugal koi kisata, a abon mora squiznu, than a wireju tiji, than a wandas walujik, than we will tiji kujumu, than will ulti. Abon masid melujik in the munegum. A halted mess seminin, says when also meso at it deal. Igin the munin, a luiginek, ginun maran, two begalin and negamoy. Only squalling and milking odic too, only squalling and sidoronic too, only squalling and salsodic too. I'm Sidnogma. I asked the Creator for very many blessings. First and foremost, as I hold this eagle feather, I asked the Creator to send nothing but good spirits of our ancestors amongst us. I ask the Creator to bless all the people that went on to their spiritual journey, to continue to where they're going, where they'll never be poor. And I ask the Creator for any of them not to turn back and to take anybody with them. I ask the Creator to continue to help, support, and bless all our elders who are lonesome, who are forgotten, who are sick. I ask the Creator to send the appropriate help to them. I ask the Creator to continue to bless all the young families that are struggling with homelessness, with food on the table, with clothing their children, to make ends meet. I ask the Creator to continue to bless, support, and help them. I ask the Creator to bless all the educators and all the stakeholders, that they continue to value what is important. I ask the Creator to bless all our soldiers, men and women who are served in all the different wars. I ask the Creator to continue to bless us so that we today have peace in the world. I beg the Creator to continue the work of finding the missing, murdered, Aboriginal, non-Aboriginal men, women, and children. I ask the Creator to bring closure and peace to the families that are affected. I ask the Creator to continue to help people that don't believe in anything, that are full of distrust, despondent, despair, and that are desperate. And I ask the Creator for all the people that are in here that hold a lot of power. I ask the Creator to bestow the 7 sacred teachings within you so that you will feel the good empathy and the compassion of people that are less fortunate than us, and that you will do the right thing. And I ask the Creator for a successful conference and to bless all the people that made this happen, and that we are bestowed with the 7 sacred teachings as well. And we ask the Creator to continue to guide, support, and wrap us up in humility, in truth, forgiveness, and constant prayer, and that the Creator will continue to guide, support, and help us. I'm Sudnogama, all my relations. Taho.
Willal and Patsy. Very beautiful prayer. We do have one more song to share. When we open up gatherings like this, we like to utilize, national anthems that pertain to the people who reside here. And the Mi'kmaq Nation, we have our own national anthem that we utilize at every opportunity that you can think of, whether that be sports games or, the very first thing that you would hear in school. I do believe the Mi'kmaq Honor Song is being shared in the schools within the province today, which is great, and it's actually the very first thing that they hear within the morning. We're going to share it to open up this conference, and then after that, I do have a couple more words to share. You can be seated. I also like to thank Chris Innes. I do apologize, Chris, who represents the Anishinaabe territory as well as being one of our flag carriers. As to our staff carriers, you guys can now be seated. So before we move on, I would like to, wreaths. All right, so right now we'd like to ask all those veterans who are carrying wreaths to bring them on up. Oh, we have Debbie Eisen doing some opening remarks.
Sorry, I'm just going to, we're going to do, thank you very much, everyone. We're going to do the wreaths in order, and I'd like to start with the base commander from CFB Halifax and the base chief to come forward to lay a wreath on behalf of the presently serving members of the Canadian Armed Forces. Next, I'd like to invite Pamela Glow DeRoche, the Executive Director from the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center, and Knowledge Keeper Tony Thomas, the President of the Board of Directors for the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center, to lay a wreath. Next, I'd like to invite retired Petty Officer Second Class Chris Innes to lay a wreath on behalf of the retired Indigenous veterans. Next, I'd like to invite the members of the Royal Canadian Legion to lay their wreath. So as a retired member of the Canadian Armed Forces for the past 36 years, I joined the military when I was 17 years old. I left my community. I did not know what I was headed for. I made my way here to Jabuktuk. My husband of 47 years I met in my basic training. I fell in love with a pair of beautiful blue eyes. And 47 years later, here we are. I made my way to Jabuktuk, to Mi'kmaq territory, and I am so blessed and so honored to be in this territory with people who are so kind and so generous and so friendly and so accepting. So much so that I've decided that this is where I'm going to spend my days, here with my husband and my 2 daughters and my 5 grandchildren. But I cannot forget the 36 years that I spent in the military, sailing and working alongside other Canadian Armed Forces members and Indigenous members. When I joined in '75, I was one of very few women who joined. And we struggled and worked our way through. Then we struggled and I worked our way through to start acknowledging and educating and teaching people about our Indigenous culture, who we are as a nation. And to know that just because we put on a uniform does not mean that we have to give up our roots and who we are. We have to stand proud, and we have to let people know that we are from a proud heritage of those veterans who went before us, who fought for Turtle Island when they didn't have to, who lost their status because they signed up to fight for Turtle Island. And I'm very, very proud to be standing here today, having these medals, and to stand alongside these other veterans and military members to say that that was probably the best 36 years of my life that I spent. So, having said that, I want to acknowledge today is Indigenous Veterans Day. My prayers to go to all those veterans who are serving not only here on Turtle Island, but who are far from home in various taskings across the world, and keeping us safe and being able to help us to do the things that we were able to do today, to be able to gather here today to help those who are homeless, including some veterans who are homeless. So thank you all very, very much for taking part in this acknowledgement of Indigenous veterans and for taking part in this amazing homelessness conference that I'm so excited to be part of and to be part of the elders group that is working with this cohort. Before I leave the mic and go drink some water, it is my great pleasure to acknowledge the elders who are with this conference today. Okay, the elders last night, we had dinner, and one of the first things I said was, I apologize immensely because I'm probably going to forget names. So if I could just please ask all the elders to stand up and be acknowledged by this group, and we will be here for you through the next few days for the conference in the elders room. And if any of you need anyone to talk to or anyone to be here, please come and see us. We're in room 501. I have to tell you, they are the most wonderful group and very friendly, beautiful people, and very easy to talk to, and we made many friends last night when we gathered together. So Chimigwich, Walaliok, and thank you very much, merci beaucoup.
All right, I would like to thank you, Debbie. I know how you feel with the throat clearing. I'm trying to hold it in as much as I possibly can. Before we get started, and before I pass it on to the real MC of your event, I'm going to ask Pam Glode de Rosier to come on up and have say some opening remarks on behalf of the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center.
Good morning, everybody. And we did have a wonderful meal last night. The elders, I think, it was late when we finished, but it was an amazing, amazing time. My name's Pam Glode de Roche, and I am a member of Millbrook First Nation. However, I work, live, and play in Jabuktuk. And I have the privilege and honor to work for my community. And I'm blessed to be doing the work that I do. And housing and homelessness has become a huge part of what I do. We continue to see our Indigenous folks in situations that just shouldn't be. Anyone who is homeless is a marginalized person to begin with. And if you're Indigenous, I personally believe that's held against you in a little bit deeper avenue. I've watched community members pass away this past year who were homeless. And I am blessed to say that the staff of the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center was there when those people passed. They would have died alone. And many of our people that are on the streets are dying alone. I am a firm believer that our Indigenous communities have the answers to support our own community members. We have to be given the ability and the autonomy and the opportunity to do the work ourselves. Doesn't mean we don't need everybody at the table. What it means is that it has to be Indigenous-led, it has to be done by community for community. There's not an Indigenous language that has a word for homelessness. I think that speaks volumes to me personally, and I hope it speaks volumes to everybody else. I was honored to ask to help to co-chair, and Tim and I work on a few things together. And I know Sarah is not here, and I do want to acknowledge Sarah from United Way. And at first I told Sarah, I said, I can't co-chair, I've got too much on the go, and she convinced me that this was a good thing. And I won't lie, I probably missed half the meetings, but I did have a great team who stepped in and helped. But I'm glad that we stuck with it, and I'm glad that the team of the Friendship Center, actually the beautiful dolls that you see, I will tell you, is a labor of love. I have about 200 staff at the Friendship Center, and there's probably nobody that didn't touch one of those dolls. So I'm blessed to have that team. But I'm excited about the next few days. I'm hoping that we get to build relationships that are lifelong, and that we build our opportunities to work together, not just in the moment of a conference, but lifelong opportunities. I think our situation, homelessness, is worse today than it was pre-COVID. But I also have the faith, and I can see a time when Indigenous people are in a place that we are looking after our own. And we have the ability to do it. We have the capacity to do it. What we need is the true partnerships that need to help us do it, and true allyship. We don't need to be told how to do it or what to do or any of that. We know what needs to happen for our community, and I know there's been conversation about on reserve, off reserve. I'm here to tell you there's homelessness in community as well. It's probably a little more hidden, but it's there. We have a housing crisis. And I know that there's so much focus right now today on the capital side of building homes and apartments. But it's the wraparound supports that we cannot forget about. And I always say this, if I had a magic wand and I could build every unit for every one of us with everybody, and we had enough to put people in. The trauma is deep in our communities, and we need the wraparound supports to continue that work. We will not house people without the wraparound supports. And I hope that that is a conversation that continues throughout all of the themes and all of the workshops. I want to thank Tim and his team, United Way and their team, certainly my own team. I'm blessed and privileged to do the work that I do, and I cannot do it without my staff. They are the most amazing people in this world, and they allow me to do the work that I do. So I thank each and every one of them. There is a lot of them here running around. And I want to thank our board of directors as well. I know that Tony and some of our board members, Brian and Dave, and there's a few of them here. But they allow me to do the work that I do. And we're pushing limits, and we're going to continue to push limits because our people are worth fighting for. No one should be dying alone. No one should be going unhoused. It's a human rights issue. And that's whether you're Indigenous or not. That's a human rights issue. Nobody should be homeless. Matter of fact, that word should not even exist. Hi.
Thank you so much, Pam. Yes, I feel the same way. So before we move on to Deb here, I just want to give a round of applause for our dancers and our singers. You guys are excused. Some of these dancers come from a long way. Some come locally as well. It takes about an hour for them to get ready, and then to come and do a 20-minute gig. It's time consuming. So thank you guys all for coming here. And that's the end of me. I'd like to thank the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center and also Tim and his team for inviting me to be a part of this. And Debbie, you're well, all you.
Thanks, Garrett. You did an amazing job. I just have two last little announcements to make. First of all, I would invite everyone here, if you want to, when you have time, to lay your poppy and say a prayer for a veteran, say a prayer for a family member, and just place it on our wreaths up here. The last thing I am very privileged and honored to do is to tell you a little bit about the dolls that are on your table. This, as Pam had said, it was a labor of love. We worked on these, we had fun with these, we had lunch working with these, we did laundry while we were working on the dolls. But the surprise for all of you are, at the end of this conference, one person at each one of your tables will be taking the doll home with you. So I'm not going to tell you which one it is or how we're going to choose which one it is. We'll leave that up until the end of the conference, but it will be easy for you to find out who's going to take one of these dolls home. So thank you very much. Walaliok, Chimigwich, and I hope you have a great conference.
Well, thank you so much, Miigwech, Elder Debbie. That was a phenomenal way to start the morning, wasn't it? To Patsy Paul Martin, thank you so much for the prayer. To Pam Glodoroche from the Friendship Center, thank you for those powerful remarks this morning and for dinner last night. That was a beautiful gathering with our board and the elders, traditional people, and knowledge keepers, and your hospitality was marvelous, so thank you for that. To Garrett was worried that he wasn't going to be able to deliver with just 3 singers, but I think he nailed it. Thank you, Garrett. And to the dancers and the flag bearers and the elders and the active and retired members of the Canadian Armed Forces, thank you for making the Grand Entry special and for helping us to honor those currently serving and retired members of the Canadian Armed Forces, particularly our Indigenous veterans. This organization is committed to ending all homelessness, including veteran homelessness, and so we keep all of those folks who have served and who are unhoused in our thoughts and our prayers today. On a different topic, I'm very pleased to be able to introduce to you a really good friend of mine, His Worship Mayor Mike Savage from the city of Halifax. I had the privilege of working closely with Mike for 8 years when I was mayor of Edmonton, and Mike was mayor of Halifax for that whole time as well. He is now the chair of the Big City Mayors group at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, which I led for 5 years before him. And I can tell you from working closely with I just want to say Mike, with Mayor Savage, that he is a longtime champion for issues of justice and inclusion, for reconciliation, and in his work as a parliamentarian, he was a champion for anti-poverty measures, including basic income and other measures to improve equity and justice in this country for everyone. And so he brings all of that to the work that he does just down the street at City Hall every day, and nationally working on behalf of municipalities and mayors of the country's largest cities to try to make things better. And I can tell you from experience, having held that load in a city of around 1 million people, that it can feel overwhelming at times, and it can feel like the wind is not at your back, but right in your face, trying to do this work. But when you have a community of leaders and practitioners like Pam Glodoroche and others, all pulling in the same direction, extraordinary things are possible, and that makes a mayor's job a lot easier. And I know I know Mike has that here in Halifax, and that helps him be a leader and an ally in this work to end homelessness. So I want you to give a huge welcome to our host mayor, Mike Savage.
Thank you, Don. Merci, Don. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Halifax. Bonjour à tous. Je suis très heureux d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui. Bienvenue à Halifax, Nouvelle-Écosse, Gouay, Jalazi, Welly-Exit-Boog. We are in Mi'kma'ki, which is the traditional, the unsurrendered land of the Mi'kmaq people. We have treaties in Nova Scotia that go back to the 1720s, called the Peace and Friendship Treaties, which did not involve the surrender of land. And our municipality is committed to honoring those treaties and doing all we can to make sure that everybody honors them as we go forward more than we have in the past. I want to say one thing about Pam Glodrosier, who may have left the room. When she says, you don't have to tell us what to do, I've never once tried to tell Pam what to do. Not one single time that I can recall. And just up the road here, we're going to have an unbelievable new Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center in Halifax. And I'm very proud that the city of Halifax was one of the earliest, strongest partners in that. And there's a lot of work that we need to do together. I would just say, if some of you are, how many of you are in Halifax for the first time ever? Get some hands. Well, gosh, welcome to Canada's favorite city. That's awesome. Fastest growing city. If you get a chance to wander down the other end of downtown, you'll come across a park that's called Peace and Friendship Park. It used to be called Cornwallis Park. And a number of years ago, we, the city, took down a statue of Edward Cornwallis that was a reminder of colonial times in this city. And it was a contentious issue. But when you walk by that park now, called Peace and Friendship Park, is there a better name for a park? A place for kids to gather, for seniors to walk? I'm so proud of that work as well. I want to thank my friend Don Iverson, who's been a great champion. He was the guy that called me up when he was not running for mayor of Edmonton again and said, I'd like you to consider being the chair of the Big City Mayor's Caucus. And I said, what are the pros and the cons? He told me about 30 pros, and then I discovered after I got it about 30 cons to that job. But Don's been a great leader. So to Don, to Tim Richter, who is here, to the board, to the folks, a special shout out to those of you who live in poverty or have that experience, that lived experience of what it's like. I mean, I encourage you to wander down and have a look outside Grand Parade. It's not far from here. It's about 200 meters, 200 feet maybe. And we have 20 or 22 neighbors who are living in tents. Right now in Grand Parade, we have another encampment not far from here, and I know many of you have those in your cities. I speak to you as a mayor whose city has gone from a 2-season disaster zone to a 4-season disaster zone. We've always had hurricanes and post-tropical storms, never in the number we have now. The last few years we've had Fiona, we've had Hugo, we've had Dorian, we had Lee this year. But we're kind of getting used to that impact of climate on our weather. And we have a wild winter weather like everybody in this room does in their home communities. But this spring, we had the worst fires in our history. This summer, we had the worst flooding in our history. And for all of that, which wasn't easy, what keeps me awake, and I think most mayors and many of you awake, is the issue of homelessness. And that's in spite of the great challenge of climate change, which we all have to deal with as well. So I'm so pleased to welcome each and every one of you. I'm sure that some of my councillors are in the room, and I welcome my councillors and thank them for being here. I'm pleased that I brought a motion to council to support the conference and put some significant money to help make sure that this conference happened. When I look at this room now and I see, I don't think it's 1,700, I think it's 1,800 people who are here to talk about these issues, not to ignore them. A lot of people don't want to, you got to move the encampment out of Grand Parade. Well, we would like to do that, but only if we have a better place for people to live. And it's not a terrible thing for people to see the actual conditions, because we've gone from hidden homelessness to homelessness that's with us all of the time. I want to thank all of the conference participants who bring lived experience, first-hand knowledge. I want to recognize that solutions will be found when we all sit and listen and talk to each other, as opposed to thinking we have solutions. Cities of all sizes. I've been working for the last 6 or maybe a year now with Leilani Farhar and working out some kind of a protocol for all cities so we can deal with people who are living in encampments, treat them as human beings, as people that have a right to live, have a right to housing. And I think, the many conference organizers and the supporters are doing great work here in Halifax. So I am thankful that you've gathered here, that you're prepared to share the knowledge and the work that you have. A vibrant city and homelessness is a difficult dichotomy to process, but we're in that situation. And so I think there's hope. Pam mentioned some of the hope. Pam is part of that spark of hope. Sarah Napier, the United Way here, is part of that hope. Many people are. But I think everybody who's here this week is here because we want to build communities where everybody can live well. So we don't just want to build units where people sleep. We want to build communities where people can actually live, with green spaces, with the amenities that folks need. And while we're in a housing crisis, which we are definitely in, let's not waste that crisis by further isolating people from each other, but actually by bringing people of all ages, backgrounds, and incomes, and cultures, and religions, and experiences together. So we'll work together to build real communities where everybody has the opportunity to thrive, where everybody has a seat at the table. Sometimes it seems like daunting work, but I know the collective will and wisdom of the people who are gathered here this week will make amazing things happen. Thank you once again for coming to Halifax. Merci à tous. Walalan, walaliuk. And I missed the wreath laying, but if it's okay, Don, I'll just quietly lay a wreath here with my friend who will help me to lay the wreath while the work continues. Thank you very much.
Mayor Mike Savage, everyone. It's great to be in your city. Thank you for that warm and poignant welcome, reminding us of the work that we're here to do together. And it really is remarkable to look out and see 17 or 1,800 people here. Some of you, it's 5 in the morning for. If you didn't change your watches. So it really is extraordinary to have everyone here this morning. So we'll just keep the program moving. Next we have CEO of the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness, my friend Tim Richter. Come on up, Tim.
Thanks, boss. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the 2023 National Conference on Ending Homelessness. I'm grateful, and we are grateful and honored to be gathered here in Mi'kma'ki, the traditional ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I want to begin by thanking Elder Debbie Eisen, Garrett Glode, and the flag bearers. I want to thank our flag bearers for their service. I want to thank Elder Debbie for her service. Some of you may not know this, but I spent a few years in the Canadian Forces myself. The haircut kind of comes with it. Bad knees and bad language as well, sadly. But for me, one of the things about service in the military is that no matter how long you do it, you feel like you become part of a family. And I didn't realize how much I missed that family until this morning, and I got to be among our flag bearers who are currently serving. So thank you very much. I want to also thank the drummers, the dancers, and the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center for their wonderful and moving opening ceremony. This year's conference, as they mentioned, begins on Indigenous Veterans Day and ends on the eve of Remembrance Day. This is an important opportunity for us to reflect on the sacrifices of our veterans and their families and acknowledge the ongoing hardship that still too many of them face, especially those veterans who are experiencing homelessness today. Thank you, Mayor Savage, for the warm welcome. We were promised legendary hospitality, warmth, and fun in your beautiful city, and you are certainly delivering on that with much more to come, so thank you. Thank you to our amazing Halifax host committee. It's led by Pam Glow-DeRoche of the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center, who you met, and Sarah Napier of the United Way Halifax for their hospitality, their insight and their hard work. It is a lot of work for a host community, and I have to say Halifax has been wonderful to work with, has really embraced the conference, and I'm hoping good things happen here from your visit. I want to extend a warm welcome to our elders, knowledge keepers, and traditional people who are joining us this week. We're honored by your presence. We look forward to learning from you and connecting with you over the next few days. To our friends with lived experience of homelessness, I want to offer you a warm welcome and our thanks. The right to housing is a core value for the Canadian Alliance and a critical success factor in ending homelessness. The right to housing, this means that the right to housing means that there has to be fundamentally a transfer of power. And homelessness and housing systems need to put you in the driver's seat of your own lives and respond to your needs and not the other way around. I hope your time here is in keeping with the mantra, nothing about us without us. I want to thank the Canadian Lived Experience Leadership Network as well for their support in hosting our lived experience colleagues. And I want to thank my colleagues from the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness. You'll see a few of us around with the red lanyards, our board members who are here as well. Thank you all so much for the work that you do day in, day out. If this thing goes off without a hitch, it's because of them. And if there are hitches, because I got myself in the way. Special thanks to Andrew, who's here, and Matthew in particular, and Trish, who you may know, who put in a lot of work to make this go off without a hitch. I honestly can't believe that this is our 10th conference. A lot's happened since our first one in 2013. Well, a lot's happened since last year. But I really wish I could stand here and tell you about incredible progress we're making in the movement to rhyme off a long list of cities that are ending homelessness or have ended homelessness, but I can't. We're gathering at a time of hardship and a time of challenge. A wave of new homelessness continues to crash down across the city, in our country, in our cities. We're driven by record-setting rent increases and the cost of living. The drug poisoning crisis is claiming more and more innocent lives. And as the housing crisis rages and homelessness grows, there are dark forces who are exploiting public fear to advance regressive and harmful policy. So, there's no sense bullshitting you, right? Things do look and feel pretty grim, but in that darkness, there you are, right? A light of kindness and love and grace. There you are, offering hope and a helping hand out of the darkness despite your own grief and fatigue and fear. Thank you. Really, I really mean that. Thank you. I want you to know that your work is seen and valued. And I want you to know that you're not alone. I hope you're going to take some time this week to get reacquainted with some old friends and make some new ones. I also hope you'll take some time to blow off some steam and have some fun. God only knows if you can't have fun in Halifax, you can't have fun anywhere. I want you to look around the room. Really, look around the room. Take a minute. 1,700 people registered to be here, another 150 volunteers and exhibitors. There's another 300 streaming the conference online who couldn't be here in person. Ending homelessness can feel lonely and isolating, right? You know that. Being homeless certainly feels worse. This is a room full of peers and allies and mentors and new friends. This is a room bursting at the seams with people who are all focused on the same thing, our shared mission of ending homelessness. Everyone here is coming with a challenge or a question or a problem they want to solve, but with as well solutions to share. Over the next few days, you're going to hear from hundreds of expert presenters and 93 or more concurrent sessions and 5 great keynote speakers, and there's going to be endless hallway conversations. Be deliberate in your participation. Look for the solutions that you can use. I guarantee they're here. Seek out answers to the questions you have. Be generous with your expertise because you all have something that you can share. Your ideas are no good to anyone if they're stuck between your ears. I absolutely guarantee that if you look, you'll find something you can take home and put to work. And I know there are more sessions than you can possibly go to. So to help you, we're recording everything. And you can stream the sessions that you miss, kind of like Homelessness Netflix. I know things feel grim. I know the frustration of not finding housing for a client who's suffering. I know the frustration of diminishing budgets in the face of increasing demand. I know burnout. I know the rage and pain of loss. I feel the moral injury of hopelessness and helplessness with you. But I also have an unbending faith that homelessness will end, and I'm able to keep that faith because of you. People in this room have helped tens of thousands of people leave homelessness for good. There's victory and hope in every one of those people. People in this room directly and routinely save lives, whether that's by reversing an overdose, finding shelter or housing for someone who needs it, or by simply sharing loving kindness with someone in despair. There's victory in every one of those lives. People in this room have come up with creative solutions to impossible problems, like providing life-saving response to a global pandemic, and on top of a housing crisis and a drug poisoning crisis. There's a victory and there's hope in those efforts. People in this room have reduced chronic homelessness in their communities and have ended homelessness for veterans, despite the challenge. There's victory and there's hope in every one of those successes. And the people in this room are changing the policy that creates homelessness and building the housing desperately needed to solve homelessness once and for all. There's a victory and hope in every building and every change in policy that moves us forward. I have an unbending faith that homelessness will end because of all of you. My hope for this week, my hope for you this week, is that you leave here with your faith restored, your cup refilled, and your hope rekindled. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being beacons of light and hope for those that suffer the indignity and injustice of homelessness. Thank you for believing in the dream of ending homelessness and working every day to make that a reality. Welcome to the 2023 National Conference on Ending Homelessness. It's my great honor to be here with all of you. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Tim. Tim got his start trying to end homelessness in Calgary, and I met him trying to end homelessness in Edmonton, and now we're all here trying to end homelessness in this country. But Tim's leadership has been extraordinary, and so on behalf of the board, thank you to Tim, and thank you to the team who put this conference together. in advance. I think we're off to a great start, though. I do want to take a moment. I've got a couple of housekeeping items, and then it's almost break time, so bear with me. But I do want to just ask the members of our board, the CAEH board, to stand and be recognized. These folks are volunteers. Who, on top of doing work in this space like you in many cases, give of their time freely to this organization to make events like this and the programming and leadership work of CAEH possible. So my gratitude to the board members. A few housekeeping notes just before we release you for the rest of the day, and these will help you have a successful conference. Most of this is covered in the program too, if you need to loop back to it, but just so you all have the same information to start off with, there is a conference app, and we encourage you to download that because it will keep you up to date with any program changes that may arise. And you're also able to reach out, connect, and communicate with other attendees of the conference. There's also a searchable program that you can use to build your own itinerary to make sure you see what you want to see while you're here. And of course, if you need support, you can also communicate with the conference organizers through the app. So if you're able, we encourage you to use it. You can find it by searching CAEH space 23 in the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. But if you don't have a smartphone, we'll do our best to keep you up to date through announcements and signage around the venue. If you need the Wi-Fi, the access code is CAEH23, CAEH23. If you have any dietary requirements, you'll find appropriately labeled food at all the buffets, and at lunch, please identify yourself to the server when they come to your table and tell them what you need. We've tried to make all the food as inclusive as possible for this event. For example, every appetizer is gluten-free and vegetarian. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask any of the conference center staff or CAEH staff with the red lanyards, and they'll be able to help you out. There are also gender-neutral washrooms on every floor of the convention center. There are also a number of community and gathering rooms for people throughout the conference venue. It's been mentioned before, but there is a spiritual room where you can meet with the elders, traditional people, and knowledge keepers. I encourage you to connect with those folks. They're beautiful human beings who taught me a lot. So if you have a chance to, go say hi, or if you need a little bit of spiritual support, they're there. There's also a lived experience lounge for folks with lived experience of homelessness, a quiet room for folks if you need a break and some quiet, and a wellness center with movement and meditation programming. Now, if you're presenting, there's also a speaker ready room to get ready and go over your notes, and all of the details on all of this, again, can be found in your program. There's also a huge range of extra conference benefits this year, including free access to the local YMCA if you show your badge. So maybe I'll see you at 6 tomorrow morning for a workout. Probably not. There's also the amazing exhibition hall outside the ballroom. This is the first time we've had something like this at the conference, and there'll also be a local artisan market here tomorrow afternoon too, so check that out. And we also have the welcome reception this evening, and I hear there's going to be some Nova Scotian delicacies, including local seafood and mini donaires. It is Halifax, after all. There'll be music and dance from local Indigenous artists. There's a complimentary drink ticket on the back of your badge, as well as a cash bar. And we really look forward to seeing you and blowing off some steam together. Now, on a more somber note, COVID is still with us. And so if any of you at any point in the conference start to feel unwell, please do not put your fellow attendees at risk. There are quite a few people here who are immunocompromised or at higher risk from a COVID or seasonal flu infection, and we ask that you look after your friends and colleagues and don't expose them to risk. We encourage mask wearing, and if you do feel unwell, you will be able to still participate in the conference, as every single attendee here also has access to the virtual conference if you need it. The The virtual conference allows you to watch every single session online, with each session added just a few hours after it's presented here in Halifax. And that means you're able to watch every session, because with more than 90 sessions, you can't make them all at the same time, but you'll be able to tune in after the fact, which is really handy. And the information on how to access this was in the welcome email that you received last Friday, but again, if you need any help, just ask. Now finally, as I mentioned, please approach any of the conference center staff or CAEH staff wearing red lanyards. The CAEH board is here. We have blue lanyards, but our tags say board, so you can certainly reach out to us as well, or visit the registration desk if you need any help. We want this to be a safe and welcoming and successful and inspiring conference for all of you. And if at any point it isn't those things, let us know immediately and we'll fix it. Finally, there's contact details on the back of the print program, so you can also send us a message if you need to reach out to us by other means. Now, finally, we have a brief refreshment break before the first block of concurrent sessions begin at 10 a.m. sharp. So enjoy your coffee and welcome once again to CAEH 2023.